In terms of this run, like, is it a situation where you guys, as a leadership committee, kind of meet together to figure out how do we best get this group through this run?
Yeah, I think the main thing we can do is stick together. Um, you know, it just comes back to not making stupid mistakes, doing the basics right, and concentrating for 90 plus minutes. That's where I think a lot of our bad losses have come from.
How much of it is mental right now?
I mean, I feel like it's always 80 to 90% mental. So
In terms of Chicago, is there a desire to try and kind of right a wrong there? Or Dean said you kind of like lost your way in the second half in terms of the way the game kind of played out. Is there kind of a familiarity there, obviously, with you having played there, and obviously you guys have had a pretty good run there when you played at Soldier Field?
yeah, I don't think we've ever lost at Soldier Field. But yeah, we always we want to win every game. But for sure, especially personally, I'd like to definitely win there. But yeah, we need to right that wrong, and it'd be good momentum for us to start July off strong as well.
Just, I know you started the game on the bench and you come on obviously in the second. What did you see from the first half on the bench and then coming onto the field in the second half? Like, what do you feel like was the difference, a shift that kind of allowed Sporting to have some momentum in the second?
I feel like the first half was a little bit slow. I thought we played well and took advantage of how they were playing. They didn't press us too much. Obviously, them being a goal down, it seemed like they were kind of chasing the game a little bit more in the second half. I felt like it was fine until maybe the last 10, 15 minutes. Two long balls over the top that we didn't deal with, and they capitalized on. But nonetheless, got to do better in those situations.
I know, like, sometimes in training you replicate those moments when you're trying to close out a match. Is there anything you guys have done, I guess not this week, but after the Philly game, just like trying to make sure those moments are closed out and you don't give up those mistakes late in extra time?
Yeah, I mean, it's basically just going back to, focusing for 90 plus minutes. You got to play the full game, right? It's not just, a tale of one half. So yeah, just playing the whole game, seeing it through, because we should be able to win games 1-0, and we have won a lot of games 1-0. So just kind of getting back to that.
And then just, I know playoffs is something you guys have talked a lot about and wanting to finish in the top four. At this point of the season, is that a discussion you're still having, or are you guys now just like looking for 3 points right in front of you?
Yeah, obviously we want to focus on the game that we have the opportunity to take right now. But top four, I don't think it's out of the picture. We still have a lot of games left, and majority of them are at home, where we are historically strong. So I think top four is still very much in reach if we can take advantage of the opportunities that are in front of us right now.
Thank you.
Sam?
Brad, how you doing? Happy belated birthday. How's it feel to be 30?
I still feel like I'm 21.
And still playing like it too. So in your next game or two, you're going to reach a really big milestone for the club. You're going to be the first outfield player to reach 10,000 minutes with Charlotte FC. What's it mean to you to have so much time invested and so much trust to have you on the field that often?
Yeah, obviously, it means everything to me. Obviously, this club is very important to me. I take a lot of pride and privilege in wearing this badge and representing it. So to reach that milestone, I actually did not know that until you just said that. So I'm very, very happy and proud to be a part of this club.
And in terms of the career, Dino and us, we were just talking about some differences between the American game and the game overseas. One of those is the draft process. I just wanted to know from your experience over the course of the career, like, being drafted out of college, feeling, when you're 21 or 22 versus signing a professional contract, like, how do you feel like it's different for American players?
Well, you it's a little bit tougher coming out of college, I think, because you don't grow up in the environment. The coaches don't really know you coming from an academy or signing into a professional setting. they're kind of just going off of your performances and statistics in the college game. And obviously, you know, that's kind of changed through the years as well, and it looks like clubs are kind of taking more of the academy to pro role. It's definitely different, you know, and there are some disadvantages, but at the same time, you know, I feel like you learn a lot of the intangibles in college, you know, whether it's character development, you know, kind of learning different roles of like, okay, you know, freshman, maybe you're on the bottom of the totem pole. You learn a lot of leadership as you go through that. So there's a lot of the character building in college that you can learn from that you might not get in the academy. But then, you know, when you're in the academy going into the professional setting, you're with a lot of really great coaches, really great players, and you have the opportunity to train with the first team, which obviously is where you want to be.
And so, you know, so obviously that leads me to the obvious question. You know, going back and playing the team that drafted you, is it ever weird?
It was, you know, when I first played against them. Now, I mean, there's been a lot of turnover in Chicago. I still, you know, I still have good relationships with some people that are still there, but a lot of people that are there I haven't played with / or knew. So now it's not so much as weird as maybe the first couple of times.
So has it been long enough that if you could score a goal at Soldier Field, it's going to be a big selling and not a muted one?
Nah, I'm not going to celebrate if I score there just because, you know, Chicago is the club that gave me my opportunity to live out my dream. They had a lot of trust in me, and I think I owe it to them and, you know, even the supporters that I'm still grateful for my time there.
Well, thank you, Brandt. I hope we get to see a muted Sully this weekend.
Thank you.
Mike?
Get my camera on for you. Good morning, Brandt.
Morning.
As you're a player that always plays with a lot of emotion, a lot of fire. How are you kind of channeling that to try to right the ship and be a leader for the guys in the room to kind of get this thing going back in the direction it was earlier this season?
You know, I think just through energy. You know, energy is contagious. You know, you can't change the past. You can't change the result from Wednesday or the previous results, and you can't change, you know, the bad run that we've been on. You know, you can take what you can from it. You can learn from it. But the most important thing that we have is the game that's tomorrow. So we got to find out a way to get 3 points out of that. But yeah, just bringing that energy, that intensity, and hoping it rubs off on some of the guys.
And then just one more follow-up to Sam's line of questioning about Chicago. When you were there, where was your go-to deep dish spot?
So, I don't know.
This is going to say a lot about.
No, because I know, like everybody loves like Illuminati's. That's like, but I don't know. I lived near Pequod's for a year, so I like Pequod's, but I also like Giordano's as well, just because of how cheesy it is. I would say Illuminati's is like my third choice, but I know that's not a popular opinion.
Well, no, you left out Gino's East, but I'm gonna.
Okay. Pequod's is number one though, I think.
Yeah, Pequod's is pretty good.
Yeah.
Thanks. Good luck this weekend.
Thanks.
Steve?
Good morning, Brandt. You've been doing this for a while now, at least 10,000 minutes, as Sam was saying. But have you ever been in a situation, either at Charlotte or in Chicago, previously, where the team is playing well, but you're not getting the results? And and if so, how did you all deal with it then? How do you turn it around?
Yeah, I've been, I think, in both clubs. We've been in this situation before in Chicago and in Charlotte. And I think a lot of teams go through this. You know, when you're going through it, it's obviously, you know, it's not fun and it's a lot more serious and there's a lot more eyes and focus on the poor run of form. But like I said, you kind of just take what you can learn from it. And it just takes one game to kind of switch that momentum and get things going again. So we're going to try and do that tomorrow, and gain that momentum, get that win. so we can have a successful July and August and rest of the season.
Is any of the conversation in training, anything, between you and the other players about what went wrong, or is it all just forward-looking to just, bringing it back to, how well you did last year and in the first part of this season?
No, it is about what's going wrong. Like I said, not doing the basics well, making mistakes, not holding each other accountable enough. So we definitely talk about that. And there's been, I think, an increased desire to hold each other accountable, in the coming training sessions and games. So that'll be our focus as we, get back on a winning run.
And do you feel that most of the players, are taking, the critique and criticism well towards, a positive way?
Yeah, I think it's a positive thing, and it'll help everybody.
Great, thank you.
Thanks.
We'll wrap up with Lenny.
How you doing, Brandt? First of all, I understand you're a Chelsea fan. I'm here with the FIFA Club World Cup. Tell us what it's like for Charlotte as a city, as a soccer community, to host these clubs such as Chelsea in a competitive tournament here, just from a broader football perspective for the city.
Yeah, I think it's a really good opportunity for Charlotte to not only grow the game, but to have a tournament like the Club World Cup here, because usually it's just friendly matches or kind of random off matches that teams are doing in their preseason. But yeah, to have a tournament like this over here, I think just really shows how the city embraces the sport of soccer. I know a lot of my friends have been going to they went to the Real Madrid game and the Bayern Munich game, and they had a ton of fun, and I know how much they value those players and those teams. So I think it's a major opportunity for the city, and I'm happy to see how successful it's been here.
One more quick follow-up, just, Saturday's going to be a Super Soccer Saturday. You guys are away in Chicago. We've got the match at the Bank of America Stadium. Again, any thoughts to the fans on how they can embrace and take advantage of all the football that's coming to the show?
Yeah, I think it can be an all-day event. I think it's an afternoon game here, and then we play in the evening. So, kind of like, you go to one match, and then you can go to a watch party or bar or something and watch us play Chicago. So hopefully Chelsea gets a win, and hopefully we get a win as well.
They need one. They're over 2 here.
Yeah, right. That's right.